Wendy O here. First and foremost, before we get started, shout out to Los Angeles Blockchain Summit for having me back to moderate a panel. This particular topic, I'm extremely excited to learn from these amazing experts because I'm currently selling my house in Los Angeles County. So it's going to be fun to kind of hear their expertise on things. So today we're going to be talking about tokenization, escrow services, and smart contracts. And as most of you guys know, Ethereum, smart contracts, and tokenization of various hard assets that are tangible and intangible is currently booming. We're seeing this with the NFT market, but NFTs are a little bit different than real estate, whether it be commercial real estate or residential real estate. So we're going to go ahead and take this time to go ahead and talk about tokenization with these real estate folks. So does everybody want to go ahead and introduce themselves? Tell us a little bit about what you guys do, your name. Mohsin, do you want to go ahead and go first?
Sure. So my name is Mohsin. I'm the founder for Tokenism. Tokenism is a platform for fractionalized sales of commercial real estate assets, which enables single direct investment with as low as $1,000. We're actually going live with the platform on October 12th. So 4 more days to go.
Congratulations. Michael.
Hi, I'm Michael Flight. I'm CEO of Liberty Real Estate Fund. We are launching the world's first net lease security token fund, and we expect to be launching that at the end of October. Our initial raise is going to be $30 million, and we invest in super safe, super stable, triple net commercial properties throughout the United States.
Blake, what about you?
I'm VP of Finance at Vertalo. We're a data management platform for tokenized assets, and we have a team that is dedicated to deploying this technology in the real estate space. I'm also a partner at Novo Block Capital and a trading advisor with Sarson Funds.
Nice. Natalia, what about you?
Hi, everyone. My venture Propy is one of the first companies in the world to finally be able to automate the real estate transaction with smart contracts. After 10 years of being a real estate developer myself, combined with 4 years of property development, we've got the National Association of Realtors to invest in our mission. Now, recently, Team Draper, and many agents, realtors in the United States, as well as consumers, are utilizing Propy and blockchain on back end of our product. In 2017, we had a token sale, and this allowed us to build a robust, hard to replicate product. And Wendy, I'd be happy to help you to sell your house.
Awesome. Well, I've got an agent now, but we will be interested in buying soon. We're anticipating the market to correct a bit, so we're going to hold on to our capital, and hopefully I can utilize some of your guys' services because everybody is so diverse and unique here. So my first question, when we're talking about being diverse, how can someone, your average Joe, benefit from real estate and blockchain from your guys' professional experience, or is it really just for the big dogs, people with a lot of money? If Mohsin wants to go first.
Sure. So I can start with that. Our biggest USP is the fact that we're reducing the minimum investment in commercial real estate down to $1,000. Right now, real estate is only accessible to, as you put it, the big dogs out there, people with the big money, and it's not accessible to your average Joe. Anyone who wants to invest needs to have either a larger saving or needs to syndicate or can get some real estate exposure with limited returns through investing into REITs or funds, but that truly inhibits their liquidity aspect on that investment. And it's an investment which you're stuck with for a longer period of time, whether it's 3, 5, or 7 years or so. Tokenization, at least with tokenism, how that works is you're able to invest with a minimum of $1,000. You're able to trade those security tokens freely after the initial hold period, as prescribed by the SEC, and it gives you an alternative investment class within real estate at very low minimums. So opens up the market to the entire world, truly democratizing real estate investment.
It sounds like it's really leveling the playing field out.
Indeed, that's the idea, right? So level out the playing field for everyone. Everyone should have the same opportunities and not just the top 1%.
I agree. What about you, Michael?
My background was in institutional real estate. So we were used to dealing with insurance companies, hedge funds, private equity funds. And so one of the first thing that really drew me, especially when I was talking to all my friends that were doing cryptocurrency, is like, Well, number one, I went to a public school, and so I never learned math very well. So when they started talking about hash, I said, no, I avoided that in high school, okay? So not sure what a hash function is. But anyway, I really saw it's like, this is like a worldwide phenomenon, not just, our typical investments that we had done in the past with shopping centers. It was friends and family. It was bringing in a hedge fund or, a pension fund or an insurance company and come alongside. And we looked at the security tokens and said, this is a worldwide phenomenon. Anybody in the world with the amount of money to invest can invest in something. And we think that, especially with the hard assets, including real estate, ours is cash flowing. So my partners hate this, but we call it crypto with cash flow. So, I'm just so excited about this, opportunity to bring a worldwide, there's all this investor money sloshing around.
What about you, Blake?
Yeah, I'd echo what Mohsin said in terms of fractional investments and fractionalizing these properties for smaller bite sizes. I think that there's a lot you can do just beyond enabling these smaller investments, where you take pieces of different fractionalized investments and create unique risk instruments or unique return profile pools, and then also the cost of capital. Providing these traditional financial services in a decentralized manner, leveraging some of the DeFi money market protocols, lowering cost of capital for the user, and creating instant programmable credit availability without having to have 7 years of the W-2. I think that is that's some of the really kind of off-piste downstream effects from using this technology with real estate.
Yeah, when you're talking about having to provide your W-2 and whatnot, having to provide your income and different revenue streams can be a little bit challenging for some people, especially some people I know, at least in Los Angeles County, that do have to work under the table for extra cash, kind of to pay their bills and whatnot, and they're not eligible for FHA loans or to invest in commercial real estate. So I feel like that levels the playing field out, and it makes it easier for your average person to invest and to increase their wealth and then pass that generational wealth down to their kids. And Natalia, what about you and your company?
My company is tokenizing the process, the real estate purchase and selling of a home. And for example, Wendy, in your case, you would introduce us to your agent, and then we would help you and your agent to close a deal entirely online through Propy. You would see all the traditional processes and documents there, disclosures, escrow, all the due dates. Your agent and the transaction coordinator will go through the process, and every single step, of course, is recorded on the blockchain, Ethereum, immuted, and thus there is a faith that the entire process is transparent for you as a consumer, as well as for the professionals. I also have an opinion about the tokenization and fractional ownership, which is, we've been looking at that as well seriously, and we're collaborating with these wonderful peers here on our panel. Fractional ownership in real estate is not new. We do have public real estate trusts, and you can participate in public market to invest in real estate funds. We have been looking at crowdfunding in a traditional manner, but of course, right now we're building the new infrastructure for fractional ownership via tokens. And a lot needs to be done. There've been a number of properties already tokenized in commercial and residential, and the key question is liquidity. How easy it is to buy and sell those security tokens, and also how serious the due diligence was there. So there is a lot of pressure, I believe, on Vertalo, on Mohsin here, on making sure that those properties that are tokenized are fair companies and legit and profitable properties with really great property managers.
I think it's really interesting, the whole tokenization of real estate assets and then being able to actually trade these as you would other cryptocurrencies. I feel like that makes it a lot easier for people. Because I know me, before I purchased my first property, I was very hesitant to, because I was like, okay, I don't make enough. Like, I feel awkward. I didn't really believe in myself at the time that I can, own a home. But after I did it, it felt great. But I feel like the entry that Mohsin is talking about is very easy, because all you need is $1,000 to get started. And a lot of times you can, cut something out of your budget to get that $1,000 and to start investing. But my next question to you guys is, do you think that tokenization of the real estate industry as a whole will bring even more transparency to the space? Because like everything, like in the United States, you can go to the city and you can pull permits and whatnot. But at the same time, sometimes it can be a little bit challenging because, government in the city, they have offices closed at certain times. And now with COVID, sometimes you have to make an appointment. But do you think with blockchain, it'll make things easier for investors or home buyers or commercial investors?
So for tokenism, our focus is twofold on it. One is, as Natalia pointed out, the due diligence aspect, ensuring the assets that are listed, all the information is that's there provided is correct. Historically, the sponsors are the right people for it. These are legit projects. And the second aspect is the secondary market for it. So answering your question, the secondary market is where it makes it super simple for you to be able to sell it, trade it, make any transactions with it without having to go any place to meet with people, or if the offices are closed because of COVID and things are delayed, so you don't have to wait for conveyance of title or anything on those lines. So you could own interest in the property by owning any number of tokens in an asset. And now that you want to sell it, you have our platform, which has the secondary market built into it. You just list it. As soon as there's a buyer, you don't have to wait 30, 40, 50, 60 days for that transaction to close and that transaction to record. It happens nearly instantaneously. It takes less than 60 seconds for the transaction to complete on the Ethereum blockchain. And yes, it completely eliminates the trouble and the inconveniences that traditional real estate investment has associated with it, and everything from property management to no dealings with tenants or phone calls to the whole 9 yards gets handled by either the project sponsor or depending on how a platform is set up. But in our case, it's tokenism that takes care of all of that for you.
Would that lower closing costs?
So we're eliminating multiple intermediaries in the process. So yes, it reduces inefficiency significantly and reduces cost. Having said that, there is still a traditional closing that we have to go through, utilizing services like Propys to ensure that it happens perfectly in order to tokenize the asset in the very beginning. So the first time a token is being, an asset is being tokenized, we would transfer it over into a new SPV and a traditional closing would take place. But beyond that, there's no more traditional closing or costs or things like that.
And then Michael,
sorry, Wendy, I just wanted to clarify something. When you talk about transparency and county records, today there are 3,000 of counties having those small land registries in the United States. Normally in other countries, there is one centralized registry, or in Australia, there are 8, one per each province. And when we talk about tokenization, Mohsin and Blake and Michael can confirm here, we're tokenizing equity in a company that owns this property. And thus those records are not going to the county level. The county tracks the records of ownership transfer when it comes to acquiring, for example, your house, Wendy, on the name of a company, and then this company stays in the records. And this is where I strongly believe that land registries have to implement blockchain-enabled land registries. We had some work done where 2 counties were utilizing blockchain-enabled recording system developed by my company. So there are 2 aspects of the transparency. One, we look at the transparency of the liquidity of tokenized properties, all those STOs. And once I talked to CZ of Binance, asking him, how do you envision millions of buildings, and those buildings would have thousands of owners of tokens? How do you envision this future equity security exchange? And he said, yes, this is how it will be, millions of tokens. And this all brings transparency. So one item is transparency on all those security tokens. And then absolutely another one is the ownership transfer land registries. I hope they will be one day decentralized and not be dependable on the government. But for now, these are two a little bit not very connected items of real estate that will be potentially tokenized.
Yeah, echoing what Natalia said, land registries need to be put on a decentralized platform. Propy did some great work on it, and I know they've been working on it. We've been following them for a couple of years. And they've worked on it for years and years. I've been following them for a couple of years, just to clarify that. But the market is so fragmented that we have to go towards a structure where we're tokenizing the interest within the asset by tokenizing those SPVs or those corporations or companies, whatever you want to call those, for that purpose. So in the foreseeable future, tokenization or fractional ownership would result in those SPVs and those companies that own that single asset. And as long as each asset is held by a single entity and your interest is within that single entity, therefore it is within that single asset as well.
But
And then,
Wendy,
go ahead.
I do believe it's going to create and get rid of some of the extra add in there. It's going to be difficult in the United States because we've been doing land title, and you've got governments that, if you're looking for full employment, you put them in the land registry title office and things like that. We do see it happening a lot more in different countries that didn't have very good land title things. So it's easier to start from scratch. It's harder to get the political process here to buy into it, but you are going to see some efficiencies eventually. You're going to see a lot of paperwork efficiencies. There's going to be a lot of legal work and a lot of title work, and more than likely commissions are going to go down because it'll be more efficient.
And one additional point on transparency here, and you guys bring up a good point about the fragmented landscape here. With residential properties, you have an MLS, you have a database, you can see every property. With commercial real estate, you don't have anything like that. And I think that once you have a critical mass of these liquid security tokens representing commercial real estate, you now have what is essentially a decentralized MLS on the commercial side. So there's all these sort of downstream effects that lend to broader transparency for the industry as well.
Let's talk a little bit about these types of practices being done in other countries. I know, for example, let's say in Latin America, there's a lot of issues with titles from what I've heard. I have friends that, they're in the United States, but they have family in Mexico, and sometimes they battle with the governments there trying to prove that they own the title or they own that piece of land. Do you see tokenization of real estate? Do you think that that's going to help other countries kind of make it easier for the residents there, especially in the ones that are struggling?
I think at some point you have, like, the greatest asset class in the world is real estate. I think it's about 280 trillion. And a lot of that's people that own land, and a lot of that's in areas like in Brazil and the favelas and things like that, where you can't find a title to the land. So those people might control the land, they might live on the land, but they can't prove that they own the asset. So it is just going to enrich the world if people can actually get title to their property, because then they get an asset, and then they can borrow off that asset. They can use that asset to start businesses and all the rest of it. So I just can't say enough great things about blockchain and what it's going to do for creating and generating worldwide wealth.
Yeah, and following up on that, I'm originally from Pakistan. That's where my family is from, and having fragmented land registry over there is the name of the game, and you get land grabbers. So very similar things as what happens in Latin America with not being able to verify title. So blockchain and putting land registries on the blockchain would truly eliminate a lot of those issues, and fraudulent titles issues would be resolved. We're currently working on another product under Tokenism that's an NFT based land ownership, and putting title for smaller developments to put their land titles on NFTs and transfer title utilizing those, and then working with the government land registries in the international market on a similar product. I believe Propy's worked with, Natalia's companies work with multiple governments, and they're currently working on it as well. I'm a big fan of Propy. If you haven't noticed, I keep on referring back to them. Great source of inspiration for us as well throughout. So, but I'll let her talk more about it. So.
Thank you, Mohsin, so much. Yeah, indeed, in the last 3 years, we worked with a number of governments. And again, Wendy, I would clarify here, normally we use the term tokenization for fractional ownership. And when it comes to land registries and all the inefficiencies happening with ownership transfer, tokenization is not helping directly because the underlying ownership transfer is either an entity or a person, and they could be claims, fraud, and whatnot. So just to have a number on this issue, it's a $9 trillion problem in the developing countries. $9 trillion of unrecorded land all over the world where people are owning properties and they cannot get financing, they cannot utilize these assets. And the problem is huge, and it's not only in developing countries. Last year, Bulgaria their registry was hacked. Then Baltimore here in the United States, the land registry was hacked. And so this is really important for land registries to start paying attention to blockchain utilization because right now they're spending too much resources on having different backups, on hiring consultants, IT consultants, which are not always the best ones in this country or elsewhere. And thus, once you have an immutable record, of course, this is the first step to at least have the record of ownership that is not altered. So that's the first step. The second, of course, we still need to prevent hacks and access to this information. So just briefly wanted to clarify those points, and we worked with the people of Rohingya, which have 3 million people, and they're losing their properties just because someone in their native country are claiming ownership over those. We've been working also with Vermont counties, and the system has been proved. So we do see governments are willing to innovate. It just takes time.
What about you, Blake? Do you have a thought on this?
Yeah, I think the panel's done a good job of covering this, but to reiterate, I firmly believe that enforcement of property rights is a precursor to economic development, and using tokenization as a conduit for enforcement of property rights, I think that's transformative for some developing nations. And then kind of the other half of the question is there demand for this stuff? There's absolutely demand for this stuff. We're seeing a lot of demand out of Asian countries, as well as South American countries. I believe we're doing the first real estate tokenization in Mexico live on a webinar next week or the following week. So I mean, the developing countries are looking at this stuff. It's almost a shortcut to doing a one of these centralized paper-based registries. So it's an exciting time for some of these nations.
Yeah, I can see a lot of good coming from this. I won't go on too much about that, but I'm very interested in charitable causes because charity has a special place in my heart for all the underdogs. So how do you guys, ladies and gentlemen, how do you feel that this type of technology can be used for the greater good, or possibly working with charities that are trying to focus on housing for people that might not be able to afford it in the United States or in third world countries?
So we're using the concept of tokenization can also be utilized for investing in local neighborhoods. That's one of the key things that we're working on right now is providing affordable housing in neighborhoods and getting the community to invest into it. So not just charities, not just government organizations, but investing within your neighborhood yourself as well. And that idea has been getting a lot of traction. And we're currently working on a couple of projects which will be coming up on the Tokenism platform next month, which address that aspect of it.
Yeah, the commercial real estate tokenization has also a crowdfunding type of thing to it. And so it's really gotten, especially the crowdfunding, when people have crowdfunded in different neighborhoods, that it's been difficult to put housing in, and they need to get more housing in. They found that if they crowdfunded it, they could get more community buy-in. So that's one way to do it. The other way is just taking all these people that within the last 30 years have moved from poverty into the middle class, and then, into some earning assets. When you talk about charitable stuff, if you're generating extra wealth, that means that you can be charitable and you can use that money. And so I think that with the tokenization and with, building and directing a lot of that extra money that's going to be sloshing around out there into projects, it's going to create additional money for people then to have their local situation where if they want to adopt dogs and, if they want to do things like that, they'll have the extra money to do it. We believe, I love what Blake said, life, liberty, and property is the best defense of freedom.
Did you want to speak out on this at all, Blake?
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that the community buy-in is a huge driver, and that's enabled by these fractional investments. And as Michael said, with that reduced friction, that added liquidity, that heightened access to investments does lead long-term to heightened wealth and more opportunities for philanthropy. So it's sort of a ripple effect as well.
And Natalia, did you want to add to this?
Yeah, sure. Wendy, first of all, that's great that you're so passionate about charity. Thank you for this question. I would add a little bit a different aspect because we address affordability of the real estate ownership here in the United States. Today, about 10% of the property price is spent on different fees. And even though we are working with agents and we don't want to disrupt the agent, but there are so many other fees that our goal is to reduce them drastically, because then this would allow low-income population to have enough money for down payment. So I do think that the key to the freedom and liberty, as Michael and Blake just said, is really access to home ownership, to properties. So in order to do that, we do need to make sure we have affordability addressed.
I agree with all of your guys' points very well. And this whole topic makes me extremely passionate and excited, because it really seems like it's going to level the playing field out and get people that are living in very poor neighborhoods, I don't want to say giving them a second chance, but helping them to get out of that negativity and to do something great with their lives, and then pass that down to their families. And before we go, I want to tell you all, I appreciate you and your time very much. And thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.